At the center of the U.S. operation in Venezuela is a question far bigger than one country or one leader. How the operation was conducted matters. But why Venezuela matters at all is the real issue. For decades, Venezuela has held a unique position in the global economy. It possesses the largest proven oil reserves in the world, estimated at over 300 billion barrels. That is more than Saudi Arabia and a significant share of global supply. Oil alone, however, does not explain the level of U.S. attention. The deeper issue involves how oil is sold, what currency is used, and how that system supports American economic power. In the 1970s, after the collapse of the Bretton Woods gold standard, the United States reached a strategic understanding with Saudi Arabia. Oil would be priced globally in U.S. dollars, and in return, the U.S. would provide security guarantees. This arrangement created constant global demand for dollars. Every country needing oil also needed dollars. Over time, this system became a foundation of U.S. financial dominance. It supported deficit spending, military reach, and the dollar's role as the world's primary reserve currency. Because of this, changes in how oil is traded are closely watched in Washington. In recent years, Venezuela publicly moved away from using the U.S. dollar in oil transactions. The government announced it would accept payments in other currencies, including the Chinese yuan and the euro. It explored financial systems outside the U.S.-dominated SWIFT network and deepened energy ties with China. Venezuela also sought closer alignment with emerging economic blocs that promote alternatives to dollar-based trade. From a U.S. policy perspective, this raised concerns not only about sanctions enforcement, but about precedent. A major oil producer trading outside the dollar system challenges long-standing norms in global energy markets. Some analysts point to past cases where leaders attempted to shift oil sales away from the dollar. Iraq announced euro-denominated oil sales in the early 2000s. Libya proposed a gold-backed currency for regional trade before NATO intervention. While U.S. officials cite security and humanitarian reasons for those conflicts, critics argue economic factors also played a role. These interpretations remain debated, but they continue to shape public skepticism around U.S. interventions in energy-rich states. Under Nicolás Maduro, Venezuela expanded partnerships with China, Russia, and Iran. These countries have all increased trade using non-dollar currencies, especially after facing U.S. sanctions. China, in particular, became a major buyer of Venezuelan oil, often through complex arrangements designed to bypass financial restrictions. From Washington's viewpoint, this alignment placed Venezuela within a broader geopolitical shift away from dollar dominance. U.S. officials have long argued that Venezuela's oil industry was mismanaged and that American companies were unfairly excluded after nationalization policies. Some policymakers believe that a change in leadership could reopen Venezuela's energy sector to international investment under different terms. There is also a broader strategic goal: maintaining stability in global energy markets and limiting the expansion of rival financial systems. Whether oil is the primary motive or one of several factors remains contested. The U.S. action in Venezuela has already triggered close scrutiny from major global powers. China and Russia have publicly condemned Washington's move, warning that the detention of Venezuela's president represents a dangerous escalation and a violation of national sovereignty. Both countries have significant economic and strategic interests in Venezuela, particularly in energy and infrastructure. China, Venezuela's largest oil customer in recent years, now faces potential disruptions to long-term supply arrangements. Russia has also invested heavily in Venezuela's energy sector and security cooperation. Beyond immediate diplomatic fallout, the operation is being closely analyzed by countries that are already exploring alternatives to dollar-based trade. For many governments in the global south, Venezuela is now viewed as a real-world example of the risks associated with challenging U.S. financial dominance. Critics argue that the operation may reinforce fears that economic independence from the dollar system can invite direct political or military consequences. Supporters of the U.S. position counter that enforcing international norms and sanctions is necessary to maintain global stability. Whether this action deters de-dollarization or accelerates it remains an open question. But the response from rival powers suggests the impact will extend far beyond Venezuela itself. If Venezuela undergoes a political transition, several questions remain unresolved. Who governs next, and under what legal framework? How quickly can oil production realistically recover? Will energy trade return fully to dollar-based systems? And how will rival powers respond? The outcome will shape not only Venezuela's future, but also broader debates about currency, power, energy, security, and the limits of U.S. influence. At its core, the situation raises a difficult issue for the global system. Can the U.S. maintain dollar leadership through economic competitiveness and trust alone? Or will pressure tactics push more countries to seek alternatives faster? Venezuela may not decide that question by itself, but it is clearly part of a much larger global shift. What do you think?